Sorry guys, this is a really late top 5 Wednesday video, but I totally forgot to pre-film this video, and I had to work today from 8:30 to 2, and now I'm finally home, and in my nice warm, cozy sweatshirt, or sweat, although this doesn't feel like a sweatshirt. This feels like a mix between a sweatshirt and a sweater, with like the material and stuff. I'm filming this on my Mac, and I get text messages since I have an Apple phone as well. So I actually just saw my from my mom's text when she came to pick me up. But, first, before I do my top 5 Wednesday, I wanted to show you my latest book purchase. So I've been trying not to go to the used bookstore because as soon as I go there, I will buy a book because it's really cheap there. As I've said before, the most expensive book is like $5, maybe $6. And and it was such a nice day. It was very warm. It felt like the 60s, and the sun was out, unlike today, which is the complete opposite. It is cold, and it is raining. And unfortunately, part of my job is getting the carts at our store. So I had to go out in the rain. Now, of course, me being dumb, I didn't think to ask to use the raincoat. So I got really wet. And, I stepped in puddles and got my feet cold and wet. But I was just thinking, I just wanted to get it done and over with, and it could have been worse. As another one of my coworkers pointed out, it could have been a blizzard. But, so I ended up going to the used bookstore, and of course, like I said, whenever I go there, because it's, anytime I go to a bookstore, I can't just window shop at a bookstore. I have a problem, and again, the prices are really good there. Unfortunately though, the only downside is the selection is not as ideal as, like, say, a Barnes & Noble or Books A Million. But it's not bad. Sometimes you find nice little gems there, and sometimes you find books that, and it allows me the opportunity to buy books that aren't, like, the super popular mainstream reads. Whenever I go to Books A Million, I go straight to this one area where it's all the YA books, and the fantasy books. But, although I'm getting better and learning to go to, like, the areas with the classics and, like, the horror books and stuff, and, like, the actual literature. But this bookstore, because it doesn't have a lot of the mainstream books, like Throne of Glass, or, or a lot of the YA reads. In fact, the teen and kids section is kind of small. It's basically this table with, containers of books, the flatter containers, not the big plastic ones, but so it's not the biggest selection anyway when it comes to YA and teen, so I'm mostly relying on literature and mystery. They really love mysteries here. I think when you retire, you really like reading a mystery is fun. Not that it's not fun for me, but to me, mysteries and thrillers are very predictable and just very cliche, or they have their own type of cliches. So the 2 books, there was a lot of books. First of all, there was Red Dragon. My friend is going to be very disappointed, but I did not buy Red Dragon, even though it was the small paperback, so that would be $2. But I just wasn't in the mood to buy Red Dragon. But one of my best friend Terry has been trying to get me to read the Hannibal series, and I've seen the movie, so I like it. And she doesn't have to warn me about the craziness about that story, about the series. It's just I haven't got around to reading it yet. Like, I attempted reading Red Dragon once, but I lost my copy of the book. I think I left it in one of my classrooms, so I haven't got around to it. And it's just not. It's nothing. She doesn't need to shelter me from the book. I don't have a problem with the reading material. The problem is I'm just not in the mood. Like a lot of people, I think I am a mood reader, and I'm just not in the mood to read the Hannibal series. Although I do have Hannibal Rising and and Hannibal. I bought those books because there was this deal on, like, I got them last month actually, or back in October. It was like a deal on mysteries and thrillers. You buy one get one free kind of thing. So I was not gonna miss up on that. I was not gonna miss out on that opportunity. So it was between that one, the Jane Austen book club, and let's see, what was the other? There was I had several of them. I couldn't decide, and finally I was able to narrow it down to two, because that's the best I could do, is narrow it down to two, because I couldn't just buy one. I have a problem. I admit that I have a problem. So finally, I narrowed. Oh, there was also a book on pirates and, like, the history of pirates and stuff, and all the stories. So it was a nonfiction one. And then there was one of my favorite authors, Kate Morden. I gave away my copy of her books to my other best friend, Larissa. I've been wanting to rebuy them, and there was a hardback edition of one of her books, one of my favorite books from hers, like probably my second favorite of all the books that she's written. But I ended up deciding not to get that, because I would have to pick one if I was gonna buy one of the hardback books, it was gonna have to be one or the other. So I didn't get that one, but I will get that one in the future at some point, like whether I get it from there, if it's still there, because the problem with the used bookstore, sometimes the books, they only have like one or two copies of one book, and then it might be gone the next day, the next time you go there, because someone else will buy it. So I might end up having to buy it at Books A Million, or unless they have it like I don't know, they probably won't. But there's another bookstore I go to in the next town over. It's a small independent bookstore. It's not a used one, but it's a little country bookstore. So it's not like Books A Million, but it's a little bit more. It has more of the mainstream stuff there. So what I ended up getting was F. Scott Fitzgerald's short stories. I have been wanting to read his books, and so far I have read. The only one I've read actually is The Great Gatsby. I read it twice because I read it in high school, my sophomore year, my junior year of high school, and then I read it again when we like earlier this year, I think, or it might have been 2015. I can't remember. Actually, I think we were here, so I think it was earlier this year. And then I saw a hardback copy with no dust jacket of two of his short stories, which actually might be in here, or they're novellas probably. And that is Paradise Lost, or not Paradise Lost, This Side of Paradise, and I can't remember what the other one of his. Oh, The Last Tycoon. So I think those are novellas in one book. So I don't know if they're in this collection, but this is all the short stories, like Bernice Bobs Her Hair, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which was a movie starring Brad Pitt, which is one of the few movies of his that I actually really like. I like Ocean's 11 too, but I'm not a huge fan of him as an actor. I mean, I think he's decent, but he doesn't wow me. Let me see if there's any more that are. So really, the ones that are most known are The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and I don't know. I don't even know if Bernice Bobs Her Hair is one, but I think I read that in one of my English classes in high school. But I don't even remember. I do remember hearing the title. So I don't know if we read it, but see? And actually, I think this originally was a library book, because it has that thing in it where when you want to check out a book to get the right time and stuff. was from South Carolina too. That's funny. I guess this 1195, September 1995. I guess maybe that's when the person got this book. Oh no, well, it was originally at the Gibbons. Oh, okay, so the SC is his name, stands for his name. So it was originally at the Gibbons Memorial Library. I guess that they give, give some of their books to the bookstore if they're not being sold, if they're not being borrowed. So I'm glad about that. I'm glad to have bought that because, and this is the hardback I ended up getting. Like, okay, so one of my favorite booktubers that I watched. Now she's a booktuber that I'm not into everything that she likes. But I do like the way she talks about books, especially how she talks about Russian history. And I want to say, I don't remember her name. I can never remember her channel. It's something like A Book Olive, I think. And I just love how she talks about her books. She sounds so intelligent and she's so much better at summing up books and giving reviews than I am. They sound very intelligent and they sound very confident, and she doesn't struggle with words. She doesn't say although who knows, maybe she does and she edits out the ums and stuff. I still don't know how. I think I figured out where you can edit it, but I haven't, so far I've only adjusted my video, the light in my video. I haven't played with it enough, and it was just something I discovered on accident, and it ended up taking too long, so I stopped. I stopped editing and just had other things I wanted to do. I think that was one of the nights I was watching Sound of Music. So, and she talks a lot about Russian history. She loves reading about Russia, and she's really passionate about it. So she got me kind of, and I already liked the animated Fox anime movie Anastasia. Now I know now the real story, they didn't actually find the Russian princess, just this woman claimed to be Anastasia. But of course it's an anime movie, it's a kids movie, so they're gonna not do it that realistic, and they're gonna have the supernatural magic in it, and that it's going to turn out that she really was the Russian princess, the lost Russian princess. But of course, in real life, I believe it was just a rumor, and we don't know for sure if this woman really was the lost Russian princess or not. So I decided to go ahead and get this book. And like I said, I doubt I would find this book at Books A Million, or even at that country bookstore, that independent bookstore. It will be a lot more expensive there. So I was going to get one of the hardcover books either way. Because where are you going to find it any cheaper? Because, seems like the actual price of this book is $24.95. And that's probably the same price it would be at Books A Million. Unless they were having a sale or something, or it was on the clearance rack. And here I only got it for $4. $3 or $4, actually $3, I think. Because I got this one for $2, and this one for $3. But it's basically about about Anastasia, the lost Russian princess, and so I thought this was cool. I want to read about it, and like I said, where else am I going to find this any cheaper? So those are my book purchases. They're trying to refrain myself, and I did ask for books for Christmas, so these I really shouldn't have bought these. Okay, so now I'm going to do. Let me see if I can find the document. I'm going to do my top 5 Wednesday, which, like I said, it's a little late. But I kind of forgot to okay, 1 second. Okay, this first. Sorry, it's a little late in doing it, but like I said, I kind of forgot. December for some reason I keep forgetting to film these top 5 Wednesdays, or even doing a blog version of them for that matter. And like I said, I worked today, so I couldn't get to it until now. So, Top 5 Wednesday is a Goodreads group created by Ginger Reads Lady and Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. It's basically you have different subjects, and you have to list your top 5 of that subject. And this week's topic is your top 5 books of 2017. Unfortunately, it was it was a little hard for me because I had more than 5 books that I really liked this year, but I don't know, maybe it's because I'm getting more, not that I'm super critical, but maybe because I'm focusing more on my reading. I've come to realize that, there aren't a lot of books that I've fallen in love with each year, but there are less books that I fall in love with, and books that I've enjoyed or were average, but but I was able to come up with 5, and here are my 5 books. Oh, and I do need to show you the books. I thought it was a character thing, and there was no point in showing you guys the books, but I'm going to do it. There is this one. Okay, I know it's this one. Let's see. Okay, the Raven Boys. Other one. Where is it? Come on, where is it? Dang it, where is that book at? That one. Six of Crows. Oh crap, I didn't come up with the 5th one. Okay, let me just go through and look at my shelf and see what. Oh, wait, no, I know which one. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Okay, let's see. What was it? This video is getting kind of long. Okay, so my first one, number 1, is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second one, and like everybody else, I thought the first one was A Court of Thorns and Thorns and Roses was okay. It was entertaining and everything, and I enjoyed it. I definitely want to continue. And who knows, maybe I liked it a little more than most fans. But, sorry about that. I keep getting this little message of something that I downloaded without, something that I regret downloading. This is the second book, and I like everybody else, I think this book was the best one. out of the 3 so far. There are 3 books. There's A Court of Thorns and Roses, there's A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Wings and Ruin. Although I really enjoyed A Wings and Ruin, I definitely liked it better than A Court of Thorns and Roses, but this one was the best one. This one we really get to meet Rhysand and his inner circle. He's introduced in the first book, but I feel like most people either they loved him or they just didn't know what to think of him. I was in the camp of, I didn't know what to think of him yet. He was definitely intriguing of a character. And I hope I'm right in assuming that my best friend Terry will love him too, and will prefer him over Tamlin. I'm worried, I get paranoid that what if she actually is into someone like Tamlin? But, I mean, how could you be into Tamlin? He's possessive and he's controlling. But like me, she might not have seen it. I mean, not that I liked him before. I didn't. I thought he was okay, and he was the love interest, so I was like, whatever. But anyway, this was just so awesome. I read this back in May, and right after it, I finished it up right the night before the 3rd book came out. Was coming to stores. So I was like, so when my mom and my grandma were going to go out and run errands that day, so I was like, hey guys, can I come with you and you can drop me off at Books A Million? So I was able to get it right away because this ended on a cliffhanger, of course. I hate when books end in cliffhangers and you have to get the next book like right away. No, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes I'm okay with waiting and it doesn't drive me crazy, but this one would have driven me crazy. And like every other fangirl, I would like all the fangirls that love this series. I love Rhysand. I am totally crushing on him. I also love Lucian. He's totally awesome as well. And because I have this thing where I feel bad for taking away the love interest from the protagonist. So I choose the other guy that's not available. And I'm not a huge fan of Elaine. And spoiler alert, she is mated with Lucian. But of course, if you read the series, you know that mating bots can be rejected. But I kind of prefer her with Lucian. But if she doesn't end up with Lucian, I would take him in a heartbeat. He's my second favorite guy, and I don't want to take Rhys from Freya because I totally love them as a couple and they're so cute together. But this was so awesome. And just this was just awesome. This was the best. Okay, so next book. All these books are from series actually. And that's the first book in the Raven cycle, The Raven Boys. I just love this. I will probably never get around to reading her other series, The Wolves of Mercy Falls, because it's paranormal, YA fantasy, even though this is technically YA. But just the characters in this series, just so far, they feel so real and so natural, and they're not, like, in the whole love, there is romance, but it's not, like, the main point. They're not, like, problem with a lot of YA, whether it's contemporary or fantasy. Now, I don't read a lot of contemporary, so I could be wrong, but I mean, what else is contemporary about? But, about teenagers and their relationships, and the personal problems they have, like whether they have certain issues like anxiety, or like they're doing bad at school, or their parents are going through a divorce, or something like that, or, they're from another country, or they're another race, or something. But other than that, a lot of times they're about, romantic relationships. And this one did have that, and it even had a love triangle in it, in a way, that began to develop. But it wasn't just about that. It didn't focus on that. Now, unfortunately there are a lot of people that can't stand a love triangle, the trope of the love triangles, and won't read them, including friends of mine. They will, if they find out a book has a love triangle, just like if I find out a book has a vampire, I won't read it. So if they find out a book has a love triangle, they will not read it. They won't be interested in it. And, it's a little hypocritical of me because, like I said, if I find out a book has a vampire, I don't care how good it is. I have no interest. So I can't really get mad at them, but at the same time, I just get so frustrated because I've read the book, You know, and that's probably what I'm sure other people are like that. They get so frustrated because they've read the book, so they know it's good, or at least in their minds, it is awesome, it is good. But the other people, they find a trope or an aspect of the book that they don't like, then they won't read it, and it just bugs me. But I think but it doesn't focus on the love triangle. It doesn't focus on the relationship, and the main protagonist, Blue, the female protagonist anyway, she does not bother me at all. She does not annoy me like a lot of female protagonists do, or ones that I can see where they're annoying, but I'm okay with them. That I still like them, but I can understand why some people would find them incredibly annoying. But I don't find her annoying at all. But although I'm sure there are people that do find Blue annoying. Because, there's not going to be one book series that someone doesn't find the female protagonist in a YA novel that's annoying. I just think someone's going to find them, But I love her writing style. I love Maggie Stiefvater's writing style. I love her stories. It's, so flowery and atmospheric, and you just get lost in this world. And the characters feel so real, and I love all the Raven boys. They are just all great and adorable, although sometimes Adam and Rowan piss me off. But I did get spoiled about something that happens between the two of them. Hint, hint. So that was an accident, though. Now, mine, of course, wasn't an accident, me just hinting to you guys. But it was an accident when I found out that something happens between the two of them. But at this point, I'm not very cautious about spoilers, and I will take full credit if I get spoiled. I'm not gonna whine to people and, be like, you shouldn't post this to spoil people or anything, because a lot of times I even look for the spoilers. Back when I was still watching Once Upon a Time when it first came on, because I was so anxious, I was very impatient to watch it again, so I kept looking every time there was a new episode was coming up. Before the episode premiered, I would look up spoilers on what's gonna happen in that episode. So I'm not against spoilers. I will spoil myself. So, but this book is just so, like I said, it's fantasy. It's fantasy and magical realism, so that's a plus. Although I wasn't a huge fan of magical realism before I read this book, because in one of my college English classes, we read a magical realism book, and I was just so bored. But when I read but reading this has brought magical realism to my attention again, and it's just, I love this book. I love. And I can't wait to continue the series, but I am waiting to read the third book, because I'm hoping to get the last book, The Raven King, for my birthday. And then I will read book 3, because I just hate waiting, and I don't know how long it is before I can get the next book in the series. The good news is all 4 books already out, so, but but then there are a lot of series that I read that the next book isn't out yet, so I have to wait a whole year or longer for the next book to come out. So, I love this one. Okay, so, the next book, like I said, these are all series. So this is a series, but this isn't a series that is not finished yet. And that is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. The Kingkiller Chronicles, to be more specific. That's what the series is called. This is the first book, and I have the second book. But I haven't read it yet, because I don't know when the third one will come out. But I love this book, and this is one of the few books that is like a mass market paperback with a small print and everything, and it's over 1,000 pages long. Or maybe less than that. Only 722 pages that I actually finished within a few months. So this was there's a plus to this, that it's not only an awesome book, a great book, and a great story, but I finished it, one of the longer books one of the tomes that I actually finished within a period of time, and it's a quick period of time, And of course, anything, I'm gonna love fantasy either way. If it's a fantasy book, I'm gonna love it. I mean, there's some fantasy stories that I'm like, about, but most fantasy, as long if I read, I'm gonna love it. And in case you don't know, it is about this guy Quoth, who is a famous wizard, and he's currently retired as an innkeeper, at this local tavern. And this chronicler guy shows up at this tavern after being attacked by this creature, and he had heard all about Quoth and the legends about him because he's very famous, and wants Quoth to tell his life story. He wants to know about who he is and why he is so famous. Like, what's his story? This basically so finally, after some reluctance, Quoth agrees to tell him, and Chronicle will record his life, and as long as he gets to tell it in his own way. So this first book is the first night. He gets 3 nights. The Chronicle gets 3 nights. So this first book is the first night. The second book, The Wise Man's Fear, will be the second night, and then there will be a third book. And there's actually a prequel book, a novella prequel that just came out recently. It didn't just come out recently. That came out as well, but I have not gone around to that one yet. I don't remember what that one is called. But I love this. I love this book. I love the character Quoth. He's so awesome. He has such an ego, and he's so confident in himself. And of course, now for the problem, a lot of people probably don't. There are people that don't like the character of Quoth because he has an ego, and it's almost like he's a Gary Stu, but he's not. It's just, but I mean, if you were telling your own story, you would probably toot your own horn and make yourself look really cool too, and that's what he does. And we basically get from his childhood where he was he was from a troupe of traveling actors. His parents were actors, and they were, working on this poem about this famous evil force called the Chandrian. I don't know how to say it. And while they're working on it and traveling, this other wizard shows up and offers to teach Quoth a few things, and then unfortunately his parents, because his father is constantly talking about this evil force, this legend about this evil force, their troop gets attacked and his parents get killed. So for a while he's wandering the streets. He becomes a thief. And then one day he gets the chance to go to the wizard that he had met before. I told him about this famous wizarding school, and he decides he wants to go there and learn. And also he wants to find out about the Chandrian and do research on it, so he gets to go to the school. And of course there's a school, he makes friends, there's a school bully, there's a girl that he likes there, it's basically, that's what we have so far about his life. And there's a lot more details in the book that are about, now, like I said, if any of the other booktubers that I like watching, if they were talking about this, they would do such a better job at talking about the book, and it would be more succinct, less pauses, no ums. I mean, although I could edit it, but as I've said, I haven't figured out the whole editing process of this. But this is so book. I love, all the characters are incredibly interesting, and I enjoy the writing style. It was easy to get, despite its length and size, it was really easy to get into. And some of the chapters were brief anyway, some of them were really short, so it was a quick read. It still took me over a few months to read it, but it was just amazing, and I definitely would recommend this series if you like fantasy. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you wouldn't like it, but I personally loved it, and I know a lot of other people who loved it. I still gotta read Wise Man's Fear. I don't know when I will do that. Okay, so the next book I have here is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Now, I did like The Grisha trilogy, I did enjoy that, but it was for me, like, and I really like what I love about the Grisha trilogy is instead of it being like a European inspired, well, actually, the country is kind of European, but not like, France or England or Scotland or Ireland, Europe. It's inspired by Imperial Russia, but but that's one of the things I found was interesting. The whole Grisham, the magic system was really cool in that trilogy. Um, and how one of my favorite tropes of best friends falling in love, but I ended up starting to not the best friend Mal was not. He's a difficult, like, I still love his character, but he made himself unlovable. The author kind of made him a little unlovable at times. And I was kind of rooting for the protagonist to end up with another guy, but she doesn't even end up with that guy. She doesn't even end up with the guy that everybody loves, the fan favorite of the three guys. Next to my favorite is the Darkling. He's the bad boy, the mysterious, broody bad boy that has had a dark past, and people, and yes, he's evil, but we kind of also fans feel sorry for him. And I did, but I didn't, I was not one of his fans, So, but I really liked this duology that she wrote that takes place also in the country of Revka, where the Grisha trilogy takes place, but a different part of Revka, and that is the Ketterdam. And this is basically about like this group of outcasts. They're all criminals in some form or another, not necessarily like the same crimes like stealing or murder or anything, but different types of crimes. And they are recruited to go on this magical heist to retrieve the scientist guy that has been taken by the government because he has invented a special chemical or a special serum or something, or drug. It's a drug that you can put in the system of Grisha, and the Grisha are the people with the magical powers. And you put it in their system, and it amplifies their Grisha powers. But unfortunately, it can also kill them. And this group of people, led by Kaz Brecker, has to find rescue the scientist, and then destroy the drug, or at least give it to someone else that will, put it in the right hands. And what I love about this book, first of all, the book looks so pretty. I mean, like, I love the black pages. I like books that are publishers that publish books with the black edged, the color, the pages with color on them, whether it's black or red. The second one, the second book, Crooked Kingdom, has red edges. And there's a few other books, like there's another book I just bought that there's my copy of the first 5 novels in Wizard of Oz has green edge pages. Wicked also has green edge pages. The copy I have anyway. But I love this as far as aesthetic goes. The painted edges of the pages. I think that is really cool, and it makes the book really stand out. I don't know if I have any other books with pages that are like that, except for the ones I mentioned. This is such a cool series. This is such a cool book. All the characters are so complex and shaded gray. There's no, like, the problem a lot of times the YA protagonist, if she's a female, she's perfect and pure. Not always pure, but she's insecure and shy, which I can relate to that, but sometimes it's kind of boring when the protagonist is always like that. And so this one, none of the protagonists, I mean, some of them are I can kind of relate to them to an extent, but I'm not someone who has to relate to the protagonist to enjoy them. Sometimes a lot of times I like the protagonist to be different than me, because then there's someone I admire, someone I want to read about, that I'm interested in. Not that I don't want to read about people that are relatable to me, either. I mean, I do, but sometimes it's nice to have characters that I can't necessarily relate to, or even if whether I like them or they just drive me crazy to the point of pissing me off. And so it makes them more interesting to read about. And all these characters are so interesting and they're so individual. And the way the book is set up is it's set up like where you get each chapter is from a different character's perspective. And that's another thing that bugs me about YA is first person perspective. I'm not saying books that are not just books that are written in first person perspective, but books that they're only about the one character. So we only get their perspective. Like a lot of YA that I've read is very much like Twilight. Twilight is in first person, I think. But it's either way, even if it's not first person, we're only getting Bella's perspective. The only time we interact with the other characters and learn about their lives and understand their points of view is if we see it through Bella's eyes. And the same thing with Cassie Clare's books, and even in Harry Potter. Now I know it's not written in first person, but we still only get Harry's point of view. And that just has always bugged me. While in this book, we get multiple points of view. And all the characters are just so complex and interesting. And the whole heist storyline is really cool. Like I said, I did really like the Ocean's 11 movies. So I really like those. So I like the whole heist storyline. I almost like it better though reading in a book, but also it helps that it was a YA or new adult book. So it was written with younger, like 20s, like younger people, teenagers and young early 20s in mind. And it's like just was so awesome, and I look forward to reading Crooked Kingdom. I just have not got around to it because I didn't want to read it right away, and then there were all these other books that I needed to read that I wanted to read, and I actually had to stop checking out books from the library and take a break from the library because I kept checking out like 2 or 3 books, and then I would neglect my own personal collection because I had 2 weeks to read them. And yes, you can technically recheck them out, but I didn't want to have to keep doing that. Which is also why, after borrowing East of Eden and The Secret History from the library, I finally decided, okay, I need to take these back and just buy them for myself. Okay, so that one was awesome, and I will read Crooked Kingdom soon. The last book, now I admit I do prefer the game A Song of Ice and Fire series, which this is supposed to be like, they compare it to that series and how it's a young adult YA version because of the way it's told. It's kind of has a medieval inspired setting. And I liked it. Now, I know a lot of people just thought the first book was okay, but I really enjoyed it. All the characters were really interesting. Some of them were more frustrating than others. But that's what I feel. I feel like a character's supposed to frustrate you and piss you off at times. Not the whole time, unless they're bad guys, unless you're not supposed to like them at all. Or you're supposed to love to hate them. But this was such a great book. I think I would have a hard time giving. First of all, it's been so long since I read it. And it's also like. And also, it's like, I never really looked at this cover. This is a really cool cover. And there's quite a few plots going on. Just like with Song of Ice and Fire series, there's a few plots going on. I mean, I know the main plot of Song of Ice and Fire series, the main thing that everybody is the ice zombies thing, and all these different families are after the Iron Throne, which I do not know why, because that is gotta be the most uncomfortable chair to sit in ever. I mean, I haven't tried it before, but it's made of iron. It's made of swords. How could that be comfortable? I mean, the chair doesn't even have a cushion. I mean, like, I'm sorry, I know whatever his name, Targaryen was all like, oh, you shouldn't be comfortable as a king, you're the king. It makes you strong if you're not comfortable in your chair, because you're too relaxed. But all that chair does is just make people cranky. That's what I feel. I feel like that chair is just makes people cranky and bitter. But I really enjoyed this first book. I thought it was really good. I liked all the characters. I liked the atmosphere of it. I can really see what's going on. I understand all the characters' motives and reasons for the way they acted and their anger. Um, and I definitely am looking forward to seeing Magnus and Cleo interacting again because is that her name? Yeah, Cleo. Because I know that I've heard that they're kind of, it looks like they're on the direction of being a couple later in the series. So I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, I spoil myself, so I'm sorry if you haven't read it and you want to read it. Forgive me for spoiling things for you. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. So, but it sounds like that's the direction they're gonna go with Cleo and Magnus, the characters of Cleo and Magnus. Um, but I can't wait to continue this. I have got to read Rebel Spring, so I might bring that with me when we go out of town to visit family for Christmas, or I don't know. I might just wait until the new year starts. But this was just so great. And it was definitely easier to read. I mean, I still am able to read a Game of Thrones and a Clash of Kings and all those books, but this is, I admit, a little easier to read and to follow and to understand because there's so much detail and so much, and it's so dense. The Song of Ice and Fire series that is sometimes I'm one of those readers that I can't remember. Just because I read it once does not mean I'm gonna remember all the details and recall. I mean, that's why, I know some people people will always say, oh, the books are better, but what I like about the screen adaptations of books is that, first of all, they give you an image of what the character looks like. Because I'm just, my imagination is really stupid when I look about, when I try to picture what the character looks like. But, they have an actor playing, on the screen version, I have an actor playing the part, so that gives me an idea of what they could potentially look like, and also, the screen adaptation thing is that you read that it reminds me of things that I forgot. I mean, I know when it becomes a movie, a lot of times they take out a lot of stuff. And sometimes even the TV show, it takes out stuff. But most of the time in the TV show, they're going to include a lot of things they would take out of a movie, and they're going to include new things and change things that could work that would work fine in the book because you don't have limitations in a book. But on screen, when you're filming something, you do have limitations. And sometimes Hollywood, what's appealing what's the real life story or what's appealing in a book isn't necessarily appealing for the Hollywood audience, even though half the audience are the people who love the book. But they want to get not just those people, but also a whole new group of people that will will fall in love with it and eventually want to read it. This was so cool. I am a big fan of multi-perspective. That's one of my favorite tropes is multi-perspective stories where there's more than one. Because like I said, I can't stand first-person perspective. Whether it's written in first person or it's just from where we stay with the protagonist, that one character the whole time. And they are the main protagonists. That's what I basically mean by first-person perspective, where we stay with only one person the whole time, or most of the time. Sometimes the author might deviate a little bit. Like, I think The Mortal Instruments I think Cassandra Clare does deviate from Clary's perspective. But that's why I love this. That's another great thing about this series is it has multi-perspective. And it's just, it's great, and, like I said, I'm probably one of the few people who loves the first book, and I can't wait to continue the series. I am very nervous, because I've heard that, the most recent book is just not as good, and, like, Crystal Storm, I don't know, I can't remember if that's the most recent book, but I heard that Crystal Storm is more of a filler book, so, like, one of the booktubers I watched, Thoughts on Tomes, I know that she's very nervous. She wants to keep reading and wants to read the last book, but she's also very nervous because the last book wasn't as great to her. So I'm kind of weary about that. Just the same with the Throne of Glass series. Like, I know that Aelin is no longer as likable. And which she's starting to get on my nerves. I admit that. And, you know, I'm a Kale fan, so that whole thing was just, and I know, like, some people don't like the series and quit reading it after the third book. So I get really weary of books, and then I admit that the booktubers a lot of times they kind of influence my opinion of books. I try not to, but sometimes, or at least they make me aware of things more. Okay, so those are my top 5 books that I read the first ones that came into my mind anyway, that I read this year. What are your top 5 books that you read this year? What are your top 10 books that you read this year, or top 20? You know, whether you want to do whether you're doing this top 5 Wednesday group, or if you just want to share what your top 5 books, or like I said, top 10 or 20 books that you read. And if you guys are interested in whether you want to be part of the group or you just want to do this for fun, I will post a link to the group, the Top 5 Wednesday group on Goodreads, and I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye.